Sarah Boone wants her alimony payments, and in a second I'm going to play a clip that got me to thinking about, what happens when a prisoner is incarcerated? Do their alimony payments continue? Before we discuss prisoners receiving alimony payments, let's watch how we got to this question, because there could be a lot more going on here than we are being led to believe. Hello, legal-minded friends. Let's get started.
Family law case file Boone v. Boone, case number 2017 DR 01660-0. I understand the state's objection as to relevance and hearsay. Response?
Judge, Brian Boone, we anticipate is going to testify for the state. When he testified for the defense, and he may be considered an adverse witness or hostile witness.
Oh boy, that audio is a bit hard to hear. So the attorney for Sarah Boone is wanting the court to decide that Sarah Boone's ex-husband will be a hostile witness, and as the adverse party, they may be allowed to interrogate with leading questions. They feel Sarah's ex-husband would be biased because he has not paid her alimony payments since she has been in jail. And if you've been watching this case, you know she's been in there for several years, I think 4.5. And therefore, he has a motive to want Sarah to be found guilty. So let's just finish up with what the judge says, because we can hear that.
What does the non-payment of alimony have to do with what's happening in a family case?
Well, Judge, that goes to his testimony, that goes to his credibility, whether or not he can be impeached, that her in the position that she's in now, he's biased, and to show that he's biased, that he has not paid alimony for her. He's supposed to pay $1,000 a month for a number of years, that he's just failed to comply with the court's order. That shows his personal bias or feelings towards Sarah.
Response?
Sounds like this is ongoing pending litigation that has not been decided by a circuit court judge in the Ninth Circuit Family Division. And I can certainly understand why one may believe they don't need to pay alimony when their spouse is incarcerated. I can certainly understand why somebody may believe they don't need to pay child support when their spouse is incarcerated, and they would probably want to seek legal redress about those issues. And it sounds like it's all ongoing.
Are there any orders from the court in that case addressing the non-payment of alimony and that being contemptuous or in violation of any court order?
No, they were divorced. I think there was a marital settlement agreement that was attached to the final order. Brian Boone did open the case back up to move the child to Gainesville, which has happened. And then my understanding is there's still some issues. I think she was given some kind of a notice of the hearing coming up. She's not represented. I don't represent her.
Is there, so if there's no order in the court file finding there's a violation of an order to pay alimony, what is?
Well, there's a final order about his obligation to pay alimony, and I think if he gets on the stand, I'm going to ask him, but you haven't paid her alimony like you were ordered to do so. I can go into, under cross-examination.
But it sounds like there's pending litigation, including a relocation and I don't know because that's not my case and I haven't looked at it.
That's been decided. He hasn't been able to relocate. I don't know all the ramifications. I'll look at the clerk file. I think we had subpoenaed the custodian of the records of the clerk file. I'll look at it and I'll let the court know and the state know.
Can you all approach just for a moment?
The judge decided he would reserve judgment. So why would the defense think that Sarah's ex-husband would be biased? Is it just because he hasn't paid the settlement agreement, which I have calculated to be well over $50,000? Or is the reason they think he could be biased is because he's made statements to the police that are biased? To answer this, we would have to watch what he did say to the police on the day Sarah Boone found George in the suitcase unresponsive. Listen to what he says, then we will compare that to what he testified to.
What can you tell me about her?
I don't. She's generally not. She can get a bit violent when she drinks. Not to this kind of extent. I don't know what happened exactly. But,
right. No, I'm just looking for.
But that was part of it. The alcohol has gotten worse and worse and worse over the years. That's one of the main reasons why I divorced her. I just couldn't deal with it. I mean, it got to the point where, on weekdays she'd go out, and I guess the George person is one of the people she had met, because I separated at one point and went over to my parents' house to live for a few months, and I guess she met him over at the pool place or something like that. But I'd come back and we were in therapy trying to work it out, and on a weeknight when he's got school the next day, I've got work the next day, she was out till 3 o'clock in the morning when the bar closes, and she'd bring people back over on the back porch. One time some random person walked in my house and started screaming for Sarah at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning when we're trying to sleep. I just couldn't get over it.
So did you still live here?
No. I bought her out of our house.
Okay.
I was going to just sell it and move because I kind of want to go back to College Park, which is where I'm from. But I thought it would be maybe easier for Lucas if I just bought her out and kept that house, so he had a little bit of continuancy, kind of.
Understandable.
So that's what I ended up doing, and then she moved right down the street here. So. And
how long would you say the alcoholism has been a part of her life?
It's always been a part of her life. It seemed to have gotten worse and worse. I think more or less kind of since we had Lucas. And I think a lot of it was the fact that she kind of, I guess, maybe felt trapped or something.
Okay.
That, before that, whenever she wanted, you're outside having a drink. Oh, I want to go play pool. You go over across the street, you play pool for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's not happening anymore when she got a kid.
Right.
So.
How old's your son?
He is 9. So, but she started just getting really angry when she drank a lot. She said last night she fell asleep. There were plenty of times where she just basically passed out from drinking. So
you've witnessed her pass out from drinking?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Now I've stopped it there because as he does go on for quite some time, so please check out the link at the top right to watch the rest of the video on Trial TV Live. But in my opinion, what he said right there, that Sarah Boone gets angry when she drinks, is pretty biased. And he goes on to say she is living off the alimony he gives her, and she promises to get a job, but doesn't ever get a job. So, if the jury heard this, it would, in my opinion, open the door to the court-ordered agreement that he was to buy her out of the property, paying $1,000 per month and the balance when sold. My understanding is the property was sold after Sarah Boone was in jail, and speculation is that her share would have been over $100,000. So this gives a whole new meaning to these attorneys offering to represent Sarah, knowing she would come into all that money one day.
Sarah Boone was back in court, but this time with her brand new attorney. Boone was arrested in 2020, accused of zipping up her boyfriend in a suitcase and leaving him there to die. Her trial starts in 1 month. Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie spoke to Boone's new attorney about the time crunch.
Sarah Boone has gone through 8 attorneys and even represented herself for a few weeks, but she now has an attorney committed to taking on her case. The judge denied his request for a continuance, so now he only has weeks to prepare for trial.
Sarah Boone needed a lawyer.
James Owens is the 9th defense attorney over the last 4 years to now represent Sarah Boone. She was charged in 2020 with second-degree murder for the death of her boyfriend, George Torres Jr. Investigators say she zipped him up in a suitcase and left him to die in their Winter Park home. Owens, a criminal defense attorney from Santa Rosa County in the Panhandle, says he saw her handwritten ad that she wrote in June saying, "Inmate seeks attorney."
I saw it. I didn't immediately act on it. I waited 3 or 4 weeks thinking that one of the members of the defense bar here in Orlando would pick up the torch. There's been through 8 lawyers, so there's some trust issues. And on both sides, I'm concerned, is she going to try to fire me, or we're going to have problems the same way, as you can imagine. But, I like her. She likes me. We communicate well. I think we're both on the same page.
Owens says he has been retained and is not taking on this case pro bono. He says Boone owes him for his services.
Now, let's hear what her ex-husband Brian said when he testified.
Mr. Boone, raise your right hand and be sworn, please. If you swear or affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Sir, good afternoon. You could be seated. After seated, if you could please state and spell your name for the record for us.
Brian Boone, Brian Boone.
Thank you, sir. You may inquire.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us how it is that you know the defendant?
I dated her for quite a while, and then we eventually got married.
When you say you dated her for quite a while, how long are we talking?
I met her in the late 90s, and I believe it was around 2005 when we got married.
Did you have any children as a result of your marriage with the defendant?
Yes, we had one son.
And how old is that son?
He is currently getting ready to turn 14.
Did your marriage with the defendant last?
No, it did not.
And approximately when was it that you separated and began proceedings for divorce?
Probably 2017, I'm thinking maybe.
And at that time, when was your divorce actually finalized?
Maybe it was 2006. I think the divorce was 2017, I believe.
And after your divorce, what was your custody arrangement with your son that you had in common with the defendant?
She was supposed to have him on Mondays and Tuesdays. I would have him Wednesday, Thursdays, and then we'd alternate Friday through Sundays every other week.
So 1 week you would have 5 days with your son, and another week she would have 5 days with him.
Correct.
And was this still the same custody arrangement in February of 2020?
Yes.
And in February of 2020, did you have, do you recall the events that occurred, I guess, first on the late evening of February 23rd, 2020?
On that evening?
Yes.
Well, apparently, Sarah called me at one point during the night.
Do you recall about what time she called you?
I think it was 11 something.
When you answered the phone, how did Sarah sound on the phone?
She sounded like she had been drinking and was pretty drunk.
Were you able to understand what the defendant was saying?
Somewhat, but she woke me up. I had work the next day. I was asleep when she called. She's done this before, calling me late at night, and generally I kind of just try to ignore it, so I wasn't really paying attention.
Who was she living with at the time?
George Torres.
When she called you late that evening, could you hear George in the background at all?
Not that I remember, no.
Did you pay much attention to this phone call?
No.
Now, the following morning, on February 24th, 2020, did you begin to call the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And approximately what time did you begin to call the defendant?
I think it was like 11 o'clock or something.
And why was it that you were calling her?
Well, it was going to be Monday. I had him on Sunday and dropped him off at school, and I was calling to try to find out if she was going to be actually picking him up that day.
Why would you have a question about whether or not she was picking him up?
She wasn't generally very good about actually getting him on the day she was supposed to.
So it was not uncommon for you to have to remind her to pick him up or to make sure that she was going to pick him up?
Well, I mean, remind or just find out if she was going to, or if she was just going to give him over to me as what happened.
Do you remember at what time on February 24th you actually got in touch with the defendant?
I think it was like 12:30 or something.
And when you actually got in touch with her, what did she tell you on the phone?
That George was dead, and if I would come over.
Did she say what happened to him?
I don't remember if she told me then on the phone or when I got there, but she told me they had been playing hide and seek and that she fell asleep.
What did you advise her to do?
I told her she needed to call 911 and that I would come over as soon as I could.
And this is on your first phone call here at approximately 12:30.
Yes.
On 2/24/2020.
Yes.
Did she call you in while you were en route to her residence?
She did. She called to find out if I was still going to be coming over.
And when you spoke with her while you were en route, what, if anything, did you advise her?
I told her she needed to call 911 and told her I was on my way, but she needed to get somebody over there.
How long did it take you to arrive at her residence?
From the first phone call, or?
Yes, from the first phone.
Well, I mean, I live a minute or two drive away, but I had to get my puppy. We had just gotten a puppy recently. I had to get him in his crate and stuff like that and put something on because I was working from home. And total time, maybe 10 minutes.
When you arrived at her apartment, tell us what she told you when you arrived.
George was dead, and I don't remember if she told me now or before that they had been playing hide and seek and she fell asleep, but I at that time told her again she needed to get 911 called to get somebody over there.
Had she called 911 at this point?
No, she had not.
So you've advised her now 3 times to call 911.
Yes.
Did you go inside of her apartment?
I walked in the front door into the little tiled area, like entranceway thing.
What, if anything, did you observe when you made it to that point?
Looking into the living room, I could see like the end of his feet and maybe a little bit of some legs that were kind of coming out around the backside of the kitchen area.
Did you continue to go into the apartment?
No.
Where did you go?
Sarah told me she was going to call 911 and go outside and have a cigarette and a drink and asked me to come out there with her. And I told her that I didn't really feel comfortable being inside. And I went out front and got in my car and waited for people to show up.
Did you witness the defendant call 911?
I think I was in there when she dialed it and first got somebody on the phone. But I wasn't there for the whole conversation, no. I was outside.
Did you stay there at the scene while police arrived?
Yes. I was there. I was part of it. I knew I'd have to talk to somebody, so.
Did you talk with law enforcement?
I did.
Your Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Judge, we want to reserve our questions for when we call him in our case.
Okay. All right, sir. You're subject to recall.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know about you, but in my opinion, Sarah Boone's ex-husband, Brian, did not answer questions in a way that were biased. So he did not favor supporting the state's narrative. He was actual when responding, and the defense attorney said they wanted to call him back to testify, but they did not end up doing that. And in my view, that was a wise move. Now let's look at what was the alimony and child support agreement. And the state was able to get this information in through this testimony. So here, let's have a watch.
In the apartment in 2020, she had not been working, correct?
That's right.
And had not been working for some time.
That's right.
And what she was doing was living off of the settlement that she had been bought out of with her husband, was lump sum plus $1,000 a month in alimony and $100 a month in child support, correct?
Yes.
So we found out there a lump sum of $1,000 a month alimony was being, should have been being paid, and $100 a month for child support. So to answer the question, does a prisoner receive their financial settlement agreement while in prison? Well, we can assume the family court would likely amend the child support payment of $100 a month. And my understanding from the reading of the child support agreement is that it can be amended if there is a substantial change in circumstances. And Sarah is no longer contributing to the day-to-day responsibilities, and this would be a change in circumstances and have an increased financial burden on Brian Boone, and we'll talk about that in a bit. With regard to the lump sum, this amount was made up from half of the equity in their marital property and an offset of marital debts. That figure was about $32,000 to be paid as a lump sum to Sarah when the property was sold. However, the property was only sold to a new buyer after Sarah went to prison in July of 2023. So was her attorney, way back when we started this video, suggesting this amount has not been paid? And if that's the case, then Sarah Boone would be entitled to that payment as it was an order by the family courts. A divorce financial settlement can be made up of lump sums and ongoing payments, known as alimony payments. And if the lump sum cannot make up all that is needed in the calculation to provide equal footing for the spouses, for example, if one spouse has a private pension, then that might make up part of the alimony payment that cannot be paid within the lump sum. If the person is not working and there is a cost of living, etc., this can be adjustable. And in this case, the court ordered alimony payments to start on the 1st of May 2018 at £1,000 per month. And these payments would continue until the death of either party if Sarah remarries or after the 84 payments of $1,000 per month has been made. Whichever shall first occur, the obligation to make further payments shall cease, except for any arrears. The alimony amount is modifiable upon a showing of substantial change in circumstances. So that's kind of important. But the duration cannot be extended for any reason. So what this tells me is that Sarah Boone could very well have a substantial amount of money owing to her. And if we add in what we heard her attorney say, that Brian stopped making the monthly payment, and if he hadn't paid the lump sum because she was in jail, And there you have it. There's a pathway for her attorneys to get their legal fees. Can you see that? And remember, Sarah Boone had a few court-appointed attorneys paid by the state because at that time she qualified, meaning she did not have any money. So can we assume that because she didn't have any money, that the lump sum was not paid to her? Interesting, isn't it? So someone in jail or prison can receive alimony payments, and there is a potential legal argument to be made that someone incarcerated would need alimony even more so because they may not be able to work. And the dependent spouse, which would be Sarah in this case, may not be able to spend the alimony payments, so this money can be transferred to a bank account for use after release. In this case, alimony payments would stop in 2025, so I don't think Sarah's ex will benefit financially from her being incarcerated. There may even be a downside if her ex has not made payments, as interest could be owing. Sarah has been in jail for just over 4.5 years, so if her attorneys were correct, she could be owed quite a bit of money. I find this very interesting, and I would really like to know how the family court will adjust the alimony payments. What's your thoughts? And if you're not up to date with this case, Sarah Boone was found guilty and her sentencing is going to be in early December 2024. She could be sentenced to life or at least over 20 years. And if you want to know what happens to a person if they're incarcerated for life, there's a clickable link up top. You'll be able to see it up there somewhere. So check that out, as it's very informative. So let me know your thoughts. Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you consider joining our channel as a member, you will get access to Legal Minded Friends Uncensored. And this is a playlist that is for members only. And we discuss a little bit more personal stuff about me and behind the scenes. And you'll also get anecdotes and stories. It's quite fun. So yeah, some of them will be released to the members only before they are public. So that's a great way to support the channel. By leaving a comment, you may help someone else that will read your comment. And of course, I love to read all comments as they are valued, and together we can be more informed. And this information may help you or someone you know. In the meantime, on this channel, you'll find a variety of playlists to suit every curiosity about the justice system. And we provide you with a visual to information and the process. Going through a legal worry is devastating, and the Who Knew and Why Me playlists are designed to help you or someone you know. So please like this video if you like this kind of content. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be notified when I'm going live or upload another video. I'm Karen Cole from Legal Minded Friends. Information is power, meaning if you know something, you can make decisions that are right for you.